was I get that weird just like emotional creative burnout just I think from not like seeing people for a while. I hung out with a friend who that she had like paranoid like almost like paranoid um, uh, self self isolated. And I hadn't seen anybody besides being like passing people at the store since March. We hung out for a bit, and then it was like like you just kind of fills up that thing again. Kind of. I mean, it was weirdly to that point because I ran a slings and arrows game on Sunday of the game I'm working on, and I was making like some really like weak choices, like basic improv stuff that I know better on. But then I found myself after that just kind of feeling a lot more energized. It's like, okay, sweet. Um, or that was on Friday because then I got a huge burst of creativity yesterday and started working on a bunch of stuff. I'm like, oh, I just needed to see a human being and actually just sit in the same room with someone for a while. Um, but then I went back and looked at Legacy and I was like, oh, you know what? No, this is. I mean, there's some fiddly stuff that we'll kind of play, but like at that moment where I was kind of looking over, my brain was just fucking gone. And then I went back. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this isn't that bad. It's just there's a couple things that are sort of all throughout. Um, it's funny. The actual book is fairly little, which I like. Got off Amazon. I got these these two together because my sister got me a gift card for my birthday. I think these two together, she gave me a $50 gift card. I paid $2 on top of that. So I was like, fuck it. There's another thing I picked up a while back for this called it's about a generation ship. It's the same idea, but you're different like families and stuff on a generation ship, each in charge of different things. Because I always thought that'd be a super cool game to play. There's actually several of those sort of like legacy games in that respect. But what we can kind of start off with. So we have created our place. Um, we've got a few fairly kind of obvious stuff to start with. Let's go ahead and introduce, and let me get a thing for some. I've been using the sticky notes application like crazy on my computer. Um, let's go ahead and create, or talk a little bit about your individual, not the families you created, that'll be a part of it as well, but the individual characters that you're playing, the character you have within that family. So, Mikey, who was it the character that you had created for Eb? All right. Tell us about Ed. Eb, sorry. I even wrote that down. Mhm. Okay. And one thing I want to double check, as I was looking through the other day, I don't think this made it into my notes, because I know I'm also, part of me is also thinking of some other stuff, like in particular some of the a different game, a little bit with blades. Some of the thing where you have like the quality of like, it's not followers, is it? What is the actual? It's cohorts and blades. Trying to remember what it is here. 'Cause there was something about it, and I meant to write it down, and I did not. Oh, yeah, it's called followers, um, which are basically like the ones you do like rolling with plus quality and stuff like that. I think we had a couple of those between either you and Paul. They would be on your family sheets. Yeah. Did it hit to like quality one or something like that? Yeah. So keep in mind those because there actually is a specific move for using followers. Like under orders, you roll, you add their quality on a 10 plus, they do it no problem. On a 7 to 9, it's done. But there's you choose one of the sort of things that go one of the compromises. So yeah, those are things that you will. If it's quality 0, they're no longer useful. So keep in mind because you are playing even when you're zoomed in because it's a larger structure. And we're going to start zoomed in. You often will have access to those. And Paul, for the preservers, tell us about your character. Okay. Okay, and the structure for your family, well, I know that like Mikey's is dispersed, so his is sort of all throughout the place. Um, what was yours, Paul? There we go. Mhm. Okay. So, so as we zoom in, there is. Let us put a small. I'm gonna try to find some better. These are a little more cartoony than I like, but like some better icons. At some point, though, I might check this. Uh, mhm. You do not. Those are things that there are, in particular, on page 65 of the book. Um, the ways that you get those often come through. I'll tell you right now. Through moves or through basically like the family going out and searching for stuff. So, like data, you get it when getting reports from scouts and spies. Use the tulip move can happen there. Uh, Getting information from allies under conducting diplomacy. Delving into ancient history, unearthing forgotten lore. Various playbook moves can give those to you as well. With tech, there's banking devices that you find in the family stock. So when you're zoomed in, there's a decent amount of times you'll find stuff, as there are things kind of all around. When you get the age turns, certain fortunes and trials between ages, and then various playbook moves, or how you get those. So, um, so looks like Cameron often, yeah, basically looks for supplies, rumors. So you might be in a small settlement. Um, let me. Yeah, there's actually going to be kind of all over the place. There's going to be some places that are um, these sort of small groups. There's going to be some that are a little bit bigger. Uh, okay, okay. So we'll say that you have and we'll go ahead. I'll throw this down. Roughly here, there is a sort of small village. Um, I was buckling through town name generator. The Shadows. So the Shadows is a uh, kind of small to medium-sized village that is sort of ruled. It's got kind of its ruling family. It is a little distant from some of the other places, but isn't like I said, uh, not far off of the major roads. They do occasionally have to protect themselves from bandit attacks, but both of you have ended up coming kind of in this direction. Um, Ed, what has brought you to the shadows? Okay. Oh yeah, there's sort of stuff all throughout there. Hmm. Okay. And then Paul, what has brought you here? Okay. All right. Turns out, I'm just trying to find it somewhere. I'd written up a list of names for Apocalypse World stuff. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Um, oh, I think it was in this. Yes. I'm just gonna go. I don't care. I don't care what it is. Up is always gonna be north. Because oh my god, that got confusing. I show that to students, and like the look on their faces, they're just like, no, that's what it is. No, you can't. You can't. I'm saying nothing is where you think it is. Okay. So you. Oh, there. Oh, this will work. And the Shadows is run by the Geiger family, and they do some training and such. Paul, about where did your people go missing, or at least where was the last place they were going? Okay. Okay, so yeah, probably headed somewhere sort of out this way. Um, so you are when you enter the town, kind of come in, and it's got the gates there are essentially. Um, they've kind of managed to put together scrap metal and such, and there's people who actually will physically open the gates. And during the day, most of the time, those things are open. Um, and a lot of the rest of it, you've got some places where there's been buses, cars taken off of the highways. Some of these things have been here for generations. Many of them just rusted all to hell. Which at the very least, even if someone comes over and kills a whole bunch of people, they might get tetanus, so they can take that. They kind of let you through. You've got it's just a not a family in the sense of you or larger things. It's just the leaders of a small group. So, yeah, we're kind of like the apocalypse world thing. We're generally like you are special things. There may be some other ones that will fit kind of in that, but yeah, this is just a regular small literal families. Like yours are much bigger organizations. So, Paul, you're now in like Geiger is probably the one that they would have talked to. Okay. Well, Geiger himself doesn't take you long kind of be brought before him, and he is in like an old library. There's like unlike like kind of like a lot of like really kind of small towns. The library is often a little bit fancier than the rest of the town itself. Um, it's one where as you kind of come in through the main doors, and there's this kind of like wide sweeping um, entry area, and it's a place behind where one of the desks, like one of the checkout counters, was. They built up almost like a small throne behind it, and he is kind of like dumping his old ass into it as you sort of come in. Just sort of looks and goes,
Got the first bunch of preservers to come through here in a short time. Well, they were being fairly sketchy about the things that they were looking for. What exactly were they searching for? We pointed them northeast of here, up towards the Valley of the Blind. And you go from family moves to basic moves. Yes. So you're coming out here asking us to point you towards treasures to enrich the coffers of the preservers. Make a find common ground roll. That's what I'm trying to do here. He is someone who wants to get a little bit more than little scraps. It's plus sway. Eight, partial success. So on this one, on a hit, they'll do it if you meet their terms. On a 7 to 9, the player picks two and both must be met. Or yeah, their player picks two and both must be met, and they play one. Um, so one of which is going to be available to you here very shortly. So there's two things. You should start talking. Um, you give something now that's worth it. Basically, wants yeah. What he would do is he would like to get if you go back out after in that direction, they want us not just knowledge brought forward, but he wants something tangible. One of the things, like a lot of them don't. There's a lot of these smaller cities. They stay pretty much where they're at. They don't venture out to look for things. But he also wants someone to vouch for you. He doesn't know you personally. I don't know who you are. However, it might be as you sort of you're talking for a while, but he is very kind of persnickety and just like he's someone who looks like he wants to throw his weight around because he has an opportunity on one of these larger families. Not too long after you leave, though, or at least the front entrance, because right now he's just like you could be anyone. I don't know if you're one of the brigands coming through here trying to pass yourself off as a preserver. You run into Ebb. Mm-hmm. Wait, one thing is what you get fairly quickly. None of that matters. He kind of wants the pissing contest of making you is essentially ask for the favor from someone who knows him. But as you kind of walk out of that library, Ebb happens to be coming down the street, and the two of you have met before. What has your interactions been like? No, you just left Geiger's presence. No, this Geiger. Hansom's writing it down. And it's also if someone tries to poison someone else, you're at least diluting it, and they're also taking the same risk. Believe me, the skull and crossbones is ironic. We're a very hipster. Also, also remember, Paul, you need someone to vouch for you. That someone could be Ed. 'Cause I'm guessing there's a pretty good chance that the Blue Cobalt Trading Company could be seen as a relatively neutral faction in a lot of respects because you're merchants. Mm-hmm. Okay. The advancements here are a little bit different. Let me pull up, I'm going to pull up yours real quick here in family mode. So when your character changes their, well, actually, they get their thing there. Um, the family advancements, there are ways to, I think, add to them, but I got to remember what those are. Well, the resources are in particular the things you have like needs and surpluses, because this is a game where that stuff's real important. Um, Advancement, or actually, let's look at family. The big stuff, those tend to be resources. However, um, whenever you mark an unmarked roll, you add one and one to the star. That's for your character changes rolls. As far as um, the family playbooks, basic family moves. This then we can also look at exact diplomacy. Yeah, that's one I might have to check on. Like right now I don't know. Mhm. I will say here though, you like partly so we can also get the two of you together to do something while we're zoomed in. So we have this is part of it to get these two characters playing before we zoom back out to the family level. We'll say like you've got problems other places, but with Geiger you're actually in pretty good standing. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. If you want to if you want to do that. Or the thing is that if you still want to keep medicine, if you still if you still want to roleplay some of the prestige elsewhere, Geiger is one. It got the Shadows is one very small community among a whole bunch. You yourself can be on good. You can either make it so that your status touch is fine. I mean, medicine is a way to maybe bring that up. Um, yeah, well, we can just say in this for this particular town, you're actually in a pretty okay thing with Geiger. Most of the rest of the time, we'll make that a thing. But here, I also want opportunity for something that's kind of driven by here's a real quick little story thing. Then, as we zoom out as the families, you get like here are the things we're going after. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me take a real quick look here. There actually is a kind of bare bones SRD on the UFOpress.co.uk for Legacy. Um, yeah, I asked Lowell who ran it on the Gauntlet, and I sent a thing to Lloyd who works for Modiphius, um, and just to ask if he happened to know. Yeah, that's something that's one of the things I'll kind of look through and I'll make a note of. That almost makes sense of being like an age, like as the world turns, as the like every couple sessions when you kind of flip over and go, okay, now we're moving on to the next turn of the age. Yeah, but yeah, you also get stuff like you can gain bonus to some of your stats. Um, mhm. Okay. Hey, I'm gonna go downstairs and change my laundry real quick. I'll be right back. Very possibly. Oh, very, very possibly. God, it is. I've had the last 2 summers. It's just gotten to the point where it's hot as shit in my apartment, and that is not helping. My air conditioner is not shooting cool air. Oh, nothing. But whew. No, it's funny. I didn't realize how kind of burnt out I was last week. I'm looking at this, going, "How the fuck do you run a game like this?" Then after like hanging out with someone, I sat back down. I'm like, "Oh, I run shit like this all the time." Be aggressive. Be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why I was playing recently with some people who were making all the most passive bunch of decisions for a bunch of stuff where it's just like, and they also were doing something where they were taking control of other things in narrative and then making choices that basically shunted out the problem immediately. It's reminded me of we used to do. Did I ever tell you about our improv show, B minus, making bad movies badder? What we do is it was myself and Katie from my troupe. We get together with Will and Aubrey from a different one, and we would watch 15, usually about 12 to 15 minutes of like a sci-fi channel level quality of film with an audience. Now, have you ever watched those? Now, they're awful, but structurally, structurally they're sound with the execution being terrible and the structure a little hammer-handed. But they do a very good job at the beginning of setting up like everything. Like they go through and like you know who all the characters are. Like it just it essentially like hammers you very early with here are all the people. And then so what we do is we would watch that first like 12 minutes, and then we would um, uh, finish the movie. Yep. So everyone knew, and then we would go okay. We would do a quick here's what's happened so far, and then we would make the rest of the film. What we found out very quickly was that the other two people we were with did not know how to pace a show for 45 minutes because the whole thing was an hour long show. So what happened is and this is I do a lot with pacing anyway, but it was like we had to jump in and really start taking control of the pacing because they were trying to solve the major problem in the next scene. It's like one, it's not interesting because you just poof, it's solved. We don't get to develop the characters. Like you can't finish the show 2 minutes after it actually starts. Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, nope, we can't do this. Okay. So you said did you two? I was so glad I got to step away from doing short forms. Like this, certain games, I never need to play again because I think I've seen everything you can do in them. Like, we're doing alphabets. I was like, oh, okay, how are you going to do X and how are you going to do Z? Which cheat are you going to use that all of us use? All right, so you go in to see Dagger? Okay. Just kind of like looks up. That was fast. Ebb. Ah. So, you're friendly with the Cobalt Sun. Did you switch it so your prestige was high? Okay. Well, in which case, as I said previously, I will let you know what we told them. We're being very sensuously rubbed on the head with the tail of your cat there, Paul. Did this very did this very sweet like good one like right and also right now the tail's in your face like a junior at prom. um but I want one of the treasures you find out there brought to us and not handed over. There seems to be fortuitous for the Cobalt Blue Trading Company, the Cobalt Sun, Cobalt Star Trading Company. They were looking for a place south of the Valley of the Blind. Uh, one of your people who was here, uh, Darla. He'd spoken with Darla, who had been in that area. We had pointed them that direction. We'd given them some supplies to make it on their way, and then they went in search of it. We've not heard from them since. Now you have two problems out there. You've got brigands, and you've also got the redemption, as well as other things that may be out there. Sometimes uh, unactivated wonders from before have killed a number in the past. But he kind of points out on the map that like the he had heard of a cache of like an old building that was supposed to have several wonders and such here. So essentially in what F-23. Okay, that's where they had been headed. And he kind of gives a explanation of a few of the landmarks that are on the way. We lived in a time of gods. I would say that they made it so. Smiled here upon Cameron, but luck is luck. Uh, he goes, we have some. And there may be a pipeline, but that may be meeting some of our people, talking with yours to see what the families can do. And to a degree, this will be sort of family. This will be a move that you then do on the family scale. Once we zoom back up, but you sort of set up in the fiction, you've got someone to talk to as far as this goes. Uh, we have maybe a little more than we need, but we do not want to be without in case things happen. We are occasionally uh, victims of the brigands. Redemptions have come through and often cause a problem. And one thing you know is the redemption. They've like glowing blue teeth, eyes. The whites of their eyes have kind of been invaded by different streaks of color in them, and they often speak about the whisper, which they get through the Valley of the Blind. Um, some of them that come out can be very aggressive in their proselytizations. Um, they are, however, often seen as freakish and strange, and a lot of people don't trust uh, them. So the trouble is sometimes, well, things they cause, it's sometimes things brought on them, and frankly, you can kind of flip a coin a lot of times, which it's going to be. Oh yeah, yep. Oh, we can kind of just go like, are you? Are, one of your people's also was also went with them, Carlos. So I don't know if you are going with Cameron to find out. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Darla was one of the Cobalt Star Trading Company people in here. Yeah, had, now what will often happen in this, as opposed to like here because it's the first session and we want you to kind of play around with these particular characters, um, giving you a chance to make sure you're sort of together. But often what might happen is you may have this thing here, and then it might be like, okay, Paul's going to go out to look for his friends, and like you and Dave would throw like create a quick character that would be with quick characters take very little time. It's just like you grab one of the inheritance moves at the bottom of the one for the family, and then you get to basically pick out like a couple quick choices, and you have then created a quick character. So the nice thing. Oh, do you want to make it a quick character for that? Okay. Yeah. So on the one that says Mikey's quick character, um, you just go to the playbook for the. We almost might suggest in the family if you just want to put your family, because that might be an easier way to check. Like here are your legacy moves you get, and then on the playbook you can just basically click um, quick character, assign force, lures, and steal and sway. Quickly choose one of the roles. Gears are going to be the same as that as your family assets. Steel was specific difference was wits and survival instinct. All right, Cameron and Quinn, what do you do? Okay, who has the highest either steel or if you've got something that makes it easier to sort of go through things in the wasteland? Yeah, it says so long as your thing is visible. Yeah, you were given landmarks. Yeah, you'll be able to use your lore. Okay, probably make a little more sense for Paul. Okay. They're actually we might be able to show you a one specific thing here soon that actually kind of does for that. So, Paul, if you want to make your roll. Okay, so one thing you can do. So you got a 7. Um, now, 7 is a hit, but would mean you pick one. GM will give you for like lose something along the way. A member of your group is hurt or sick, or an obstacle threat is blocking your way back. Or you can also call for aid from Mikey. One of the things you can do is if you don't roll as well as you'd like, another character nearby can do something to boost your efforts. Um, Now, this one doesn't have a relative backstory with you, but what Mikey would be able to do is make a roll using steel would be the one that would be most common here. And does the narrow expertise does that give you any bonuses? Oh, yeah. If you want, so since you're scavenging, if you want to reveal a secret in this area, you get fleeting advantage, which means you actually get to roll 3 dice and take the highest two. And if he gets a hit, he bumps what you rolled up by one category. If it's a failure, if it's a 7 to 9, they also share in the move's consequences. If they fail, the result drops to a 6 or less, and they share in the consequences. Yeah, so roll advantage. No modifiers. Yeah. Nope. It, so what did you roll? A 7. Okay. So you increase it by one category. You also share in the move's consequences. In this one, though, you get to go with Wasteland Survivor 10 plus. Do you have the Wasteland Survival thing open? If you want to pick one of those, no, what it means is next you can basically make a mark. So the next time you come through here, you know a way to get. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. So what? Where's the second bodyguards coming from? Hmm. No, so the difference with those two. Um, so those are things that Ebb has that don't just work as someone he can send out to go do something. Because your followers, you can send to do something. Here, they actually give the bonus to you. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So what it means is you can have those like those other guards you can have, and what they do is you can send them to do something, and there's a roll that you make against their quality. Your loyal staff will be with you, and they give you a literal bonus in those situations. Okay. So we've got the. Let's make a note here. What is it you find, Paul? Well, the thing is, are you using the rule book or are you using the handouts? The handouts, like on page 76 right now, I have basically 76 and 77 open right now with all the character moves. Like you discover a hidden treasure in the wasteland worth a lot if you can secure it. Oh, it is a yeah, it is unusually long because most of them don't have quite so many. Like this is a 95 page handout because each of the families and such are like 4 pages, and then each of the characters are two. Yeah, so it is a bit bigger, but yeah, you can, and then you got the wonders at the end. What is it you find out there in the wilderness? Or if you want, I can come up with it. Okay. Um, so as you kind of come through, this is actually off of the railway bridge. You as you sort of head across there, and then there's the direction you're going veers off from where the main trail that kind of leads to that hidden bridge is. And at one point, there's a slight slip, and you're going through a wooded area that as you slip onto like a small rocky outcrop, you look down and there's this husk of like a living machine. These things that occasionally get up and start doing things, unfortunately, often rather destructive. This one looks like it is probably deactivated. It is. It looks like at one point it had fallen down a ravine, and there's a few of these almost insectile legs that it had traveled on at one point that are clearly broken and rusted near it. Um, you do know that these things often have defenses, but the amount of stuff that you can kind of pull out of one can be, and even some of the stuff around it can be rather useful. No, it wouldn't fit in a van. It is like the thing itself is probably the size of I think like the room I'm in my apartment. Like it's fairly large. There's often like some smaller things around it as well, except it's broken off. Okay. Yeah, we'll say without going down to it, which can because part of it is it'll be a little bit dangerous to get stuff that can be worth a lot. You actually do find like it's almost like an orb, and if you want to make a note of this, um, it's an orb about yay big, that throughout it there are these like greenish tubes that are running to have like that are like intermittently glowing. You're kind of looking at it like you're not quite sure at this point what it does. What you're able to do at some point, if you want, you can do it unleash power. Um, so the thing itself, uh, listen, it's about this big, and there's several sort of buttons on it, and when you sort of like touch one without when you start to press it a little bit, there's a hum that's like something's like spinning up. Now, what you're able to do, and this is anybody can do this, when you have a device, you've given a couple things. You can go, okay, I wanted to do this is the thing I wanted to do based on those clues, and try to use it at some point. And then you roll plus lore. On a 7 through 9, you get to pick 2. On a 10, you pick 3. It can be like, it does exactly what you want. It can be used again. You don't rouse other devices in your environment, or you avoid the device's side effects. Yes, and then it kind of, if you get a hit, it does basically what you want, but there's some drawbacks. Um, if you when you return it to your family, you can lose a device and get plus 1 tech. Nope, it gets erased and becomes part of the tech of the family. And these things are not going to be uncommon. Well, they're not necessarily. One of the ones you can choose is it can be used again, but it has to fit. If you want to make a note, it's like a sphere with like a pulsing green fluid, and when you hit one of the buttons, it starts to wind up. So what's there has to make some sense with those clues. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Um, I think on this one, oh, let's do it. As you were looking around, kind of in the same area, um, the thing that you find, and like, a lot of these things just seem like they're kind of dead metal at this point, but you do find one that it is almost like a spike that's about yay big, like down to like a sharp, and the one you almost missed it because something had impacted it into the ground enough that you may have thought it was originally just like a little piece of that some of the metal that's hanging around. You kind of kicked it and realized it was actually embedded. Um, it's a spike. On the end of the spike, there's a hole at the tip, and there's looks like something inside. Um, the other end of it has like a little ball, has a ball on the end, and there are these uh, kind of greenish LED panels that are still kind of very lightly, uh, very lightly burning at this still point. Like you can, there's a little something there. It's in a language you're not familiar with, and it's a little difficult to pick it all out, but it's there. Okay. All right. Do you continue on to the area where they were lost? Okay. So Paul, um, you get to a point where you need to like leave the van for a bit as it starts getting into some much rougher territory. As you get towards that area, you actually see a is it what did you choose for transportation for your people? Yeah, one of the smaller ones. The one that I wrote down over here. Let me close a couple of these. That your people, Allison, or one of the ones Allison would have is also parked kind of out in this same area. No, no, this is over actually in this. Yeah, but yeah, two over from it. There's a point where it's just you can't really drive through this terrain because it gets far too uneven. There's little crevices and such. The two of you there are able to, you got your small group, are able to move from there, and you get to a point where you're looking down. So since we're using New Jersey, I don't. Well, you've been through New Jersey. New Jersey is like all hills and valleys, like especially in this area. Like it is. I was always like, I probably can't call them mountains, but I do know that when I look up, I can't see most of the stars because there was just this huge, like giant hills and such all over the place. Um, when you look down, uh, you see like they were looking for like an old stuff in an old technology and equipment, like an old building. There is a building that is open um, down there, and it's one that actually has like um, it's essentially part of this was you see a few ruins of some buildings further off, but what you're looking at is essentially what used to be a tunnel you could drive down into the underground part of the facility. There also is like armory. There's like armory testing grounds out in this area, um, and at some point you pass like some the remains of some like decent sized fences, most of which have been torn down. There's usually like little bits in here in the distance you've seen. Um, but as you look down, there is a body on the ground as if someone had been running up, out, and something had. You're not seeing at this distance what did it, but there is a body that has been there for uh, at least a week from the looks of it. That is face down in the coming up out of that driveway, that tunnel access. And Mikey, that's what you're doing too. Okay. As you head down, what you see is one of the people that was going with Allison. We will say painter. And what looks like is what got him is there is a ragged hole through his back. But as you look at it, um, again, his body's been there for a bit. It's been had some birds and other stuff on it, but as you sort of move the body, but you can see that whatever went through his back and what was probably solid because it took a chunk out of the concrete underneath him. I mean, what you're seeing is not a. Uh, it wasn't made by like a bullet or an arrow or something like this. Yeah, this looks closer to a sword hit, but it's a sword hit that went through him and then into the concrete a little bit. So the tunnel itself goes down for maybe about 100 feet, and then it levels out, and then it spreads into what we would know as sort of underground parking garage. Nope. Hmm. Okay. Um, yeah. So as you head down, it opens up into the large parking area. You can see like there's pillars in places, and there are a few, not many, but there are a few old cars that have been in there and rusting quite a bit. The nice thing is there are at least a few places where the the level above it, like the ground and such above it, has fallen through. So there are some places where sunlight streams in, but you can see that there are um, some hallways, like kind of far to the left and such, as going in. But there's also some sort of large double doors towards the back, and you can even see from a distance these things look like they've been crowbarred pretty handily open, and they kind of it's a kind of a larger tunnel that leads deeper into the complex. Okay. Oh, did your people not carry that for gear? Because your family's gear is stuff you can take with you. Right? Yeah, the family will have like a gear. It's specifically when you. I'm gonna look at your family mode. Um, yeah, one of the things you choose at the bottom is like how do you fight. Oh, yeah, that's right. You pick three. Yeah, so yeah, you're defended. You got your bodyguards and such. If you want to, yeah, if you want to, you can. What? Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, your bodyguards would always be with you. If you choose that, but yeah, if you want to change one of those, you can. Elegant. Elegant means it's flashy in use and can bypass simple defenses. Um, let's see. Okay, so on these ones with the, let me look at what utility says. Um, unremarkable is what it says. Utility and what? That's for the pack rat kit. Oh, that's yeah. Negates disadvantage stemming from freezing or scorching temperatures. Get +1 armor when these deal harm to you. So with Regal, other comms, you can send and receive audio messages as well as limited digital data. With the Regal outfit's flashy, everyone who sees it recognizes you and your family. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. So what are the beasts that carry your stuff? Are they like ones we would recognize, or you want to mix them up? Okay. I think you got your D&D monster in my apocalypse game. You got your apocalypse game in my D&D. Um, Okay. So, everything okay, Paul? For the cat? Not the person stealing from you? Alright, that was me, Jerry. Okay. Mm-hmm. Alright, so do you go through the bigger one, or you go through some of those smaller hallways? Okay, so you go some of the smaller ones take you into. At one point, you go in like there's like a series of some offices. At this point, you do have to turn on there's some places to turn on some flashlights. Other ones, you do have some um, like a very dim bioluminescent like fungus that's growing on parts of it that let some of them be at least a little bit visible. Um, a long time ago, the doors to this stuff had been like broken through. People come up, had been through here. You are seeing some places where you're seeing scorch marks and places where there had been some fires. But it looks like this was a very, very long time ago. In fact, the way you can tell it used to be a fire is this is a place where not a lot of water and other stuff comes through. So, um, and there's a couple hallways that open up into. At one point, you almost say like open up a door, and then that bigger hallway is in there, and you can kind of see along the sides of that bigger hallway. There are a bunch of uh, like basically golf carts. Um, a lot of them ancient. A lot of them have been like kicked over and moved, and like they're kind of scattered throughout. It doesn't take too long. When you realize your comms down here don't work too well, which is probably why you didn't get a distress signal if something happened, where you find actually a member of Darla's party. You find one of well, what's left of him. Uh, Denton had been. It looks like he'd been torn apart. Yeah, like something had come through. Like you like essentially this much of him, like the arm over, and like a chunk of this is over on one side. The you got like the head and such is off, but mostly at an angle. The chest itself was relatively caved in. It looks like something caved in his chest. And at about that moment, you hear. Oh yeah, yeah. So both of you hide in like one of the rooms. There is a. Uh, it's probably about 5 feet long. Uh, it's kind of moving on insectoid legs, a little like what you saw out in the one of those living machines from previously. Uh, as it kind of comes through, you're hidden. And one of the things is you go by some of the by like that luminescent fungus. It has like basically like a flamethrower that is on it, but that flamethrower like the tanks itself are rusted out. It's like a robot. It's one of the wonders from before. Um, as it's heading through, and then like the flamethrower, what's left of it is kind of moving on the thing, but that thing itself is useless. Um, doesn't take much of a look to see that the claw stuff for it are clearly what had caused what had caused the deaths you saw before. Not for attack, no. It won't help for combat. So you would make your fiercely assault, which is plus force. Mm-hmm. Correct. With melee plus elegance, so it gets you simple defenses. So it's like the armor it has will not be a problem here. All right, so you get to choose one, and I get to choose two from the fiercely assault list. So if you look on the character moves, if you have the handout, I've got the handout for the web, the fancier one that's on page 77. But you've got basic and peripheral character moves. You basically always want to have that available. There's times to be picking off lists. Yeah, that's what I've got with like it's got all the color in it. Yes, 76. I think you might have the printer friendly one. Yeah, you have the printer friendly one up. In that case, it'll be towards. It's not all the way at the end, but it'll be towards it. Um, okay. Now, the other thing that can happen is if, like so as you go out there, describe what you're doing as you rush out towards it. Okay. So yeah, as you manage to get it in there, but as it's thrashing around, uh, this is one where you could call on aid to see if Paul can help bump that up to a 10 plot, like basically to the next level. Did, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's one of the call for aid is that nice. Like if you do it, cool. If not, like how does the other person help you do better than you make you roll? Okay. Yep. Okay. You will share in the move's consequences, but you have moved it up to a 10 plus. So Mike, you get to choose two, and I get to choose one. Yeah, I was saying, so you're not technically. Oh, actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and use that. As it has you, as it goes, um, and like crunches very hard, something underneath the floor, and both of you it gives, and both of you plunge down about 15 feet into like a large room underneath it. Um, you may bounce off of like the kind of the computer stacks. Like it's like a server room that's down there as you kind of hit the ground as it's thrashing, and then it just slowly starts to like. And now you both fallen. You didn't actually manage to take harm as you went, but you can see that there is a uh, there's a doorway that leads out of here, and you can still see like a quick flash of the flashlight. The exit signs are still pointing. They're not lit up anymore, but you do. Yep. Yep. Oh, this makes sense for you. Do you want to do Unearth Forgotten Lore as you sort of search through the downstairs here? What did you get? You could call for him for aid as you start looking through like some of the various rooms and such down here. Hmm. Okay. Yep. So as the two of you are sort of looking through, trying to like, and yeah, as you start looking through, as you're looking through like some of these offices and such, that are sort of off of it. Um, at one point, who rolled lowest among the two of you? Quinn. Yeah, Quinn. You as you hit something, and then there's just this loud, and then lights start to come on. Yeah, and then the hallway, the lights, and like a lot of them are no longer in working order. Um, but there's still enough of them that are undamaged. That, however, they created them before. But like you're now sort of fully lit up, and there's just a humming, and you see the stacks and stuff you fell into. Uh, like you see like the lights start to appear on those server stacks. Oh yeah. Did Mikey freeze up? When he had kind of like you kind of lean back and manage to click on something, and then just all this stuff started up again.
There's a lot of them. Some of them will turn off the ones in this particular room. Yeah, you do, kinky little bitch. And you actually hear some static, like there's whatever I turned on here may have like it may what you have may have hooked up to something. You know, now she's been gone about a week and a half, so the chances of her, if she's here, being alive are probably low just from a supply point of view, but not necessarily. True. Hmm. Okay. Mhm. All right. Uh, uh, you're searching for a little while, not maybe 20 minutes, and you're gonna find your way to. There's a room that actually has got like some look like heavily reinforced doors. There's like heavy scratch marks on the door, like those things that try to like bash its way through, but didn't actually make it in. Yep, these look fairly fresh. Physical, actually, like a key. Like it looks like it's one that you'd use a key for. Okay. You don't hear anything from inside. Yep, there's a doorknob with a keyhole in it. Yeah. You know, as you go, it turns. It turns a little bit, but then like it's locked. It might be something you use diffuse using well either lore for like so if someone wants to use force and try to bust through the lock. Someone wants to use lore, you might be able to pick it. Well, lore is the what? Yeah, but the technology to actually know how to kind of go through and click it. If you with diffuse, if you improvise technology, steel is like endurance or quick action is with steel. Force lets you like physically bash something down. Improvised technology, remembered information can help with lore. Do you ask for some help? Well, I was saying you actually do. The thing is, as you open up the door, you actually do manage to open the door with a lock, and as it opens up, the thing that you, unfortunately, the thing that you see first are Allison and Darla um, in the room, both dead. You don't actually see any wounds and such on them. Like just from just the way they look, it looks like it might have been uh, when they locked themselves in here, starvation, or more likely dehydration. Um, but they locked themselves in here from the thing. Um, but
which you don't notice kind of at first until as you sort of see them as the door opens, and they had basically set up like some barriers and such. One of the things you saw earlier, like those like robots, drops from the ceiling and lands in a skitter like right in front of you, Paul. Yep. Nope, there was a hole in like, the room you just opened. There was a hole in it. Okay. You got in, but you didn't get in safely. The hole was after they were dead. Okay, so it looks like you were essentially trying to run away here. Or yeah, when you close the door. Did you two run, or what do you do? Remember, you've got like your yeah. So as you shut the door, you once again hear a shoot, and then you hear something like displaced above your heads, but inside the room, you hear a scrambling in the ceiling above you. Well, actually, now you hear it literally above you though. It's like up above in the hall in the. Oh, you going back in? Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah, as you make some noise, you hear, and then as it and then falls through, lighting on those legs like pretty handily. Make your fiercely assault. Yep. Jesus. Actually, unfortunately, he fails. That means it dropped to 6 minus. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing though. You don't necessarily have to use force. Like, what were you can use something if you have a way you can figure out using a better stat because you don't necessarily have to be trying to disable it. So that's what was happening. He had no. It's for when the person's helping you. When you call for aid, they don't have no. But I was saying with the call for aid, no. That's that. Oh yeah, even if, yeah. But the thing is, that even if the robot did with lore, you might be able to kind of go in and grab something, and that might be able to help Mikey get his opening. That'd take a little too much time. That's the fun thing about mooks and like Ars Magica. It's like if they like people throw them because like oh they don't matter because they're gonna die probably soon. But they throw themselves into the characters enough that there's we got the point where they're like we don't want to risk these people. So did you want to do something besides just like shooting at it or? But the thing is, even behind, there's things you can do that aren't necessarily like all you got to do is like look at the stuff you've got. Like, what would make sense of using a different stat? Decently sturdy, but you do see that they're the way the place that they go in has like the where basically like the I guess almost like a hip joint where it pops in has definitely not been repaired since people were here. Yeah, yeah. What is your steel? We can just is your steel at least a one? You want to go because that will still take you up to six. Do you have something that's a one? Could be how would you do that with lore? Diagonal moves like a horse. Right? That would do a thing where you get to bump it up by one. No, no, no. You rolled a six, and then you had a minus one. You're taking a minus one to a plus one. You're adding two essentially. Yeah, so that will move you up to a 10 plus, Mikey. Uh, okay, the Savage Terrifying Harm is usually to fuck with other people, like other foes that are there. And right now, you don't have any other foes. Yeah, but basically, it's a thing. It's a thing that makes other people back off. Okay. All right. And I will say you. Oh, you both end up taking harm because the one I'll choose is each of you are going to take two harm. The other thing about this is when you zoom up to family level, very often like you have a whole bunch of time go by, so like you're not. It's not like Blades where that harm necessarily stays on as much session to session to session. I'd go with drained and winded. Oh yeah, they are different depending on playbook. In some respects, I mean, you almost want to look at what the playbook has to say. So when it comes to your what are you again? Seeker. Um, yeah. So we look at some of the moves that you've got. Like, which two moves did you take? But you should you should. Oh yeah, that I'm gonna have you do that in a moment because that's what you're in. Oh, what does the survey drone do? Oh, that's what that. Okay. When you said visible, oh yeah, that makes a whole lot more sense. At least I know how that works now. Yeah, here in a moment we'll have you make that visionary archaeologist because one thing to keep in mind, I will. I'm gonna keep. I'll have like the family or character, the basic ones up in front of me, but you'll need the ones for like your character, the specific ones. Um, yeah. So as it kind of crashes the Earth, yeah, Mike, you managed to actually pull out um, uh, like essentially it's like motherboard black box kind of stuff that you pull for it. So that will end up being worth what did they say, one data. That will end up being when you take it back home, will transfer into one data for um, your thing.
And then Paul, if you want to make the Lord your special move, it's this one. It's like, oh, hey baby, yeah, yeah. This is my. Do you really want to hurt me? Want to make me cry? You finally succeeded. Yeah, well, one opportunity now at this point for you is you've cleared out the two defenders that were left. As oh, wait, because the information you get there may change what you want for your second question. Um, so as the two of you kind of like search through here, you find that uh, the group that come before had awakened these defenders, and these Bella and Allison had basically locked themselves in here, and you got Mo, and were unable to kind of escape. So as because the things were out there, she was also unable to actually contact anybody with what she had. So the two of them died in there. Um, you also find out like her flashlight was out, so they at some point they were in the dark for a while. But the facility itself, you managed to kind of trace it back. There is a one of the reactors from before that is on the bottom floor. Nice thing about it is these things they still work after a very very long time. I mean, even after the two kind of breaking of the world, these things have worked. It's just that people aren't really sure how to get them to use them safely or to repair stuff without a whole bunch of other things around it. Like you need to like scavenge such. So it's up and it's working. It's something that is not as reliable because the nice thing about being by a dam is that is a fairly simple comparatively. Turbines move. That generates electricity. The water does a lot of the work. I mean, it's essentially like a fusion reactor. As you're kind of going through, this actually looks like this was after the first apocalypse. This is um, before the second like breaking of the rule, like the second thing that happened. Because some of the stuff you see, and it's the drawings make it a little more clear. The language is not something you always know. There's words and such you recognize, especially things that were on buildings and on billboards, stuff along those lines. But the meaning for some of those has changed between now and then. But yeah, this was put together to be a weapons facility for people who had survived but were a part of a military operation before this, and um, it looks like they were in the middle of planning such when whatever happened here to get them to flee this area. Sounds like I believe we might be in a good place to zoom out to the family. Okay, so we if we zoom up, um, yeah. So if there was someone who didn't have a actually, when events move from zoomed in scene to the bigger picture and actions covering weeks and months become important, if your main character was not involved, you pick one. So Mikey, on page 78, um, some time and such would have considered to have passed. So you get to choose one of those from the zooming out. Yeah, we'll probably just not worry about it because he doesn't know how those stuff work. Okay. Also, remember those things that you found, you did not use them. It's one that you could always choose to use the power up to use them. If you wish to keep them, you can end up keeping them. Maybe um, use them next time. You just want to make sure that what I kind of told you is still there. The other thing you can do is you can give it back to your family to lose it and give them +1 tech. Oh, only if you have the thing. If you choose the one where it can be used again. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Actually, not a terrible idea. I'll be right back. Hey, Paul, were you a Slay the Spire player? Uh, there was a game that came out that kind of reminds me of it in a lot of respects. That was one of those fun ones. It's very easy to sort of just like lose a bunch of time playing. It's called Monster Train, and you're actually one thing that they're kind of like really impressed with what they did is what you're doing is you are the theme is basically the war between heaven and hell is over, hell lost, um, and then was it hell lost, and the characters you're on your way back, kind of you're on a train on your way back um, uh, into hell to try to essentially use the last bit of ember, like this last spark, to restart hell. And on your way there, you're basically the denizens of hell, trying to like pull up all this stuff. And what you're able to do is then grab like angels and other stuff are attacking you. You're summoning up demons and doing all this kind of stuff. And it's like it does like
deck building as you go, and you start kind of grabbing all this other stuff. Video game. That's been a nice one to double check the uh, or listen like a podcast or like a video while playing. Oh, damn it! What the actual fuck? I love when you have like students you hadn't had for a while. They're like, "I'm sorry, I was a dick." Sometimes they're like, "I hope I hope we'll be okay." I'm like, "Look, you can't. Like, if you're a teacher and you're holding grudges, you ain't gonna make it. Like there's just no way in hell. Like you're gonna explode." Well, it's just. I mean, the thing is, sometimes it's hard because kids can get. I don't get this too much, but kids can get fucking personal. Um, yeah, when they just kind of like decide to get pissy, and because they make bad decisions a decent amount of time. I actually got this is one of those things that like last I've gotten this twice. The first time I got it was my co-teacher had nominated me, but I got one of those um, like excellent award type things. It's very what they did is they actually wrote down what like I typed on the certificate is what the people had to say about me, and it's very clear that the ones who were written were both written by students, and like that meant a whole lot more. I had one kid who's like, I don't think everyone gets him. I think you're a really good teacher. I think you're doing a lot to help us out, but they just don't want to do shit. That's not an email I got from a kid. I'm like, thank you. I try, and sometimes I succeed, and sometimes I do not. But yeah, it's one. It's funny that he's in a group of seniors who the seniors I've got are the ones that have to take it, and they don't want to be there, and they just want to be done with the year. So senior used to be fun. It's less so now. I love telling kids every once in a while there's a thing. Man, why like you always getting on me about this stuff? I'm like, have I ever said I won't help you when you come in for help? Like when you legitimately and one goes, well, yeah, I showed up and you weren't going to help. I'm like, you tried to get everything done on a Friday, and you were going to show up at 4 o'clock on a Friday when you were wasting time in my class all week. No, in that case, I'm not. You're going to come in. You can come in after school on like Monday or Tuesday or something. But like my weekend is started, and you have wasted time. But if you come in and you're not wasting my time, I am always willing to help. But sometimes you got to be like, I can't be it. You don't snap your fingers and I show up. I've got kids who we have gone round and round, and then sit down with them and work with them because it's like you were being a dick. I was getting pissed, so I wasn't being the nicest. At that moment, I was angry, and we both got our blood up. But I will work with you and help you, and you will get you through this.
I want you to do well. I want you to stop being an asshole. Well, for me, the big thing for me is because most of what I have are seniors, they can't. I mean, they can take summer school, but it's one of those things. And when I had it before, kids would have my class several years in a row. They just didn't do anything. The seniors, I have to work very hard to make sure they graduate. The last 3 weeks of first and second semester is me doing a lot of work. That's it. I froze up. I'd say it's stressful enough that I told you one time the summer the year we had 8 snow days. I had 2 full weeks with only a single class because all my seniors were gone. Because the seniors last day is usually like 3 or 4 days before everybody else, but they added on like extra 5 or however like the maximum amount of days, and the rest of them basically Illinois had to go like we realized what it was like. Everyone gets a couple of those for free. But I had 2 weeks where I had nothing to do for most of the days. My principal walked in on me lying on top of several desks and reading. And for years afterwards, they'd be like, "You earned that 2 weeks." I'm glad you realize that because I fucking work hard to get those people graduated. I should not care more about you graduating than you do. Why has this happened so much? Yep. Anyway, so and here we can move up to the family level. Now, with the family level, um, it doesn't necessarily mean it's just like, why do this, move, I do this. There can still be like role playing. There can be like people getting together, but what we're looking at is kind of the bigger overview and not the stuff where like an individual. Did, did she sign it? You just have notes of how to make the perfect woman. So if you want to take a look at get the family moves out. Now at this point, like I said, the family stuff is not it's not supposed to just be like, well, I do this, I do this, I do this. Now we zoom in because role playing, all like you can have something where essentially your two main characters come together and talk and have like negotiations and stuff. It's all handled at the family level, but role played out and all that stuff sort of happens. But here's where we start like moving things forward, where it's like, okay, we can now look at what are some of the things that you are looking to do? Like you have claiming by force could be seizing control of like that thing you found, or like the let me put a thing for that. This is like an opportunity to go and like take some of those things, do diplomacy. This is essentially where you get to tell me, and also like start working towards. We want these extra surpluses. We want to take care of these things, and we'll also talk a little bit about what your current sort of surpluses are, and actually sort of like nail them down. Like, here's what these things specifically are, as opposed to just a generic resource. And there is like a list in the book of like, here are things you can use for uh, that would represent like, here's our surplus of like the Gilded Company. You've got, where did I put those? I put those up higher up. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you changed medicine as one of your needs. Okay. Yeah, and then Paul, for example, has leadership and engineering. So that's one of those things we can kind of talk like, what do those mean as far as the actual stuff go? And there's some examples in the book if you want to take a look.
we can kind of talk over what those are, and then we can kind of look into playing up at the family level. That's something you might be able to kind of, if it's enough for a, like, you probably want to send some people to get that, or yeah, well, some of that might be talking with the preservers about that, or yeah, there's one thing I want to. Um, I think there's. I'm just trying to want to double check because I remember seeing something where it could be.
Yeah, there was something I was looking through earlier, and it had to do with resources. Yeah, by the way, it's on page 31 if you want to see like these are examples of surplus and needs. But there's uh oh okay ah yeah. I want to double. There's one thing I want to double check because I was this one thing I was looking through yesterday, and I don't think I made an actual note of it. I know sometimes there's like a role you do. Probably the C is do you have to tie up other things with that? Of course, it might be seized by force. Um, Probably just want to double check that. Yeah. While I'm looking at this, do you two want to talk out like what your what the you can kind of get your two leaders together to discuss what the actual um, uh, terms of this will be like is this something you're both working on like defending, checking up? Like, how are you doing that? Mhm.
And the knowledge I want to know is how much can I sell my stuff for? Okay. Um, okay. So if you, and this is what you want to make a note. So when you put your surpluses, what I would do is make a note of exactly what this thing you have. It's not, well, it's not giving you a surplus right now. It can be made into one, probably with a little bit more time. Because what, all right, but I'm sorry, what it'll do is it'll take you from nothing up to, um, it'll get rid of a need. You either go with a surplus for something you don't have. I think the need right now, the medicine is something. What that also does is that brings up your morale, because your current morale is always, the mood rather, is how many surpluses minus how many needs. Okay. Okay. Did you want to make a note, like maybe you grabbed up some of the weaponry and some other stuff from there? Okay. You drop off some of the things there. Um, Go ahead and take one treaty with the shadows. Well, actually, we'll say right now just the preservers. All right. What are the things that you are at the family level, like that you are looking like that you want to do? Like uncover secrets is not a bad one to end up doing. Things like there's something you want to try to claim by force. Be a possibility. Conduct diplomacy if you want to. And you can also make up some other stuff on here, like is there a certain type of group or something that we don't have listed? Or if you're looking for resources, things like uncovering secrets let you do that. Uh-huh. Hmm. Yeah, I think yeah, it just kind of goes back to your stuff. Yep. It's more that's more necessary for because the surplus, like you've got this place now that you're able that you pulled some stuff from. It's not even quite a surplus. It just took care of your need. But that is something that in fiction like could be attacked. Your surpluses are the ones you got to worry a little bit more about as far as that goes. But like the tech that gets handed over, keeping track of it for flavor's sake, if it's something that we actually use. But here you can just make it like it's a piece of tech. The tech is kind of all over the place. Like it's not. Yeah, there's enough found, and some of it's going to be stuff people know. Some of it'll be a little more unusual. What is it that your family is are wanting to do? What do you can always look at like your how are there certain surpluses you think might be useful, uh, allegiances you think you want to make, um, getting rid of needs. Like you can look at those needs, for example, and go, okay, we want to find what are some ways to find recruits or other things. Yeah, yeah. But probably the biggest thing now, like things like uncover secrets, and like one thing is you can kind of start building on different things, like looking at how do you get rid of certain needs, stuff like that. Give you an immediate place to go, and then as other things happen between, usually there'll be other factions, and not necessarily like, oh, here's a location with like a robot or something in it. No, you'd roll two dice, but you would add one if you spend one data. You add zero if you spend zero. But it's always 2d6. You can do it without data. Data just gives you extra bonus to finding it out. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah. Yep. Is there a thing with the data? Let me double check on the character mode. Yeah. So if you just want to hit roll 2d6 and then add plus one, or just click something that has a plus one from your stats. Oh, it's in family mode. Okay, that works. Okay. Well, the thing is, so actually, first we'll do that. What happens then? Because we'll get into the actual. We'll get into this. We'll get into the scene and look at the at what happens with that. Um, yeah. So, Mikey, you gather together some of your people to help look into that too, as far as getting recruits. All right, we're going to meet one of your people here in a moment. And what was it you were looking for, Paul? Mm-hmm. Which you need? Okay. So you gathered, yeah, you gathered together some of your people. Um, what has been the problem with the morale for your people? I think you actually click. You should be able to actually just click a mhm, starter info because it just yeah, right above reach, grasp, and sight. I still see starter info. Mm-hmm. at this point, Raven, one of the people that sort of like higher up on the. If you have, I don't know, you have a council or how is your. Okay. Okay. We'll say Raven, one of the originals, is like when we created the Preservers, it was not to coddle people who have a hard time doing what they're supposed to be doing what they're supposed to do. Each person is part of the glorious machine that is the Preservers. They were literally made for it. And you want them to what? Have more time, relax. You know, in my time, last time I'd been brought out here, we didn't screw up our clones so bad that they were making mistakes because they were overworked, because they were doing what they could to survive. So, what should we throw them parties? Pizza parties were apparently very popular back in the day. One of the others kind of like speaks up. I will say this is Painter because we might be able to bring in some of the more promising ones uh, to help out if they had a possibility of a promise of maybe becoming, if not members of the preservers, at least associated closely with. Lift them up out of their bare bones existence. Give them a little bit of what we enjoy. It would require searching through several of the towns and cities and trying to find those who might be interested. But if we canvassed the various areas, we might find people with a technical knowledge who wish, well, to step up in the world. And Raven's just like you would put human, like regular born humans and us together, and that's it. That's to you. Well, you're the one in charge. I was only brought in to help people, to maybe give you some ideas. But if this is what you want to do, change how things have been done. Yeah. And the way sort of fiction works, you could even be like a sort of a different character in the yeah yeah.
Like, even if your character is like the outsider, or like with one of the trader, it's still like the family decision stuff is in the player's hands. So yeah. Okay. This is to remove. Um, and then yes. So your other thing is in that 10 plus, you can ask a second question or add to the map. A powder keg ready to explode, a place to shelter from harm, or a barrier that impedes travel. Oh wait, I thought. Oh, that lore was from before. Oh, yeah. Go. Yeah. If you just want to hit roll 2d6, and then add however much data. If you add no data, you just roll +0. Yeah. So while if you do that, that'll make a difference here in a moment. And then to Mikey. So you were this one. You were trying to do what again? The yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the need recruits doesn't turn it into a surplus, but it just means we need recruits so that we're okay. And then later on, it might be we get more people. Then we have bunches. We have a lot of extra people, which could be good. But yeah, it's a you're trying to get rid of that need. Yeah, you've been talking with Carla, trying to figure out. Carla's like, well, I mean, we've sought out there, but we're not. One of the problems is our training people is what is sort of the initiation or training or what someone goes through to become. Mhm, 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 um, yes, it's one of those things where uh, Karloff, one of the Cobalt, is just like he returns from a mission where they've been just trying to find people. He's just like, swear to God, this wasteland destroys any honest person who tries to make their way through. We looked. That's one we could see if they're able to. And that's just one you can do a thing where and no, there actually is a uh, someone can lend aid or you can call in a debt. Um, there's those peripheral moves or things you can end up using. So on this one,
well, you're not going to be quite sure where to find this. This basically tells me to make a move as far as causing some what happens because the roll failed. Um, he goes, I mean, I just came back from trying to. We found a few that seem like they're worthy, but it's very hard for us to know if anyone's going to be at that level, and not easy to go through the training we've got. Do you have any ideas of how to make this maybe less impossible? Carla. Mm-hmm. With the redemption. At which point you get like an emergency communique comes through your you got comms on your stuff. It's Ed, this is Hawk or Hatchet. Sorry, Hatchet. This is Hatchet. Hatchet's one of your runners. He's one of the ones that like goes between the various like towns and such, and he's part of your information network. Um, yeah, we got a problem in Cossington. Yeah, well, looks like we've got people making some moves. They've thrown they've thrown our agents there into jail. We've got someone trying to set up their own merchants guild here. Yeah, I mean, Cossington's been tense the last few times, so I changed clothes on my way in. Nobody saw that it was me on my way in here, but yeah, our people here have all been in prison. They haven't done anything to them yet. I mean, they might be afraid, but if they're making this move, that means they got more muscle than just here in this little podunk dipshit town. And that's on like the lower right. Uh, all right, and that sounds like not a bad place to end for today. And Paul, did you decide what? No, did you make your roll? Okay, yeah, I thought you had that 10. Um, so yeah, so in the family parts, this is what I'll be. I'm going to go back through and sort of look and see. Okay, what are the things I missed? But like with the family part, some of it's like, how do you address those problems? And like particularly once you're used to it, then it can be like, oh, we want to start working on a wonder or something along those lines. Um, but then some of those roles and such, if things go well, cool, you found some stuff. This is what we're looking for. If not, it's like here are some of the problems that we're able to then zoom in and work on. Yeah, so that generally becomes like the pace of the game. Whereas things are going through, we zoom in. Um, Stuff can happen. You can kind of jump into them. Like Quinn is now a character. And actually, the character sheet you made, if you just if you want to rename him Quinn and maybe put Mikey, or let me actually do this. I'm put Quinn. Then put your name in parentheses. What I'm going to do, I'll make a folder with that says what should we call this? Um, well, no, because we kind of want to put them with who they go with. I'll just put Cobalt Star, and what we can do is we can throw Quinn up in there. So that's just a reminder that this is a character you play in the Cobalt Star, and you can like in the future, like next time, there's a good chance Paul and Dave for part of it will be quick characters with the Cobalt Star, and it's one where they can go back to characters, or you can create new ones. So it's not like every time if Mikey Evers was someone else and goes, oh, we send one of our people, it doesn't have to be Quinn. But Quinn is now someone who's been created. So we'll end up with this roster of quick characters that can be jumped into.